means you're following me suggests that you're admitting it. Phony boyfriend.
Back with the cliffhanger in episode 1. I refrained from commenting on it last episode since it does make a good cliffhanger, but this line always came off so weird because like I said in the last episode, why does she care? She works for a rental girlfriend agency. She's a goddamn rental. This again seems like inconsistent characterization to try and make the twist in the episode seem better, but it fails miserably since the twist was already revealed in the last episode when we see Curry book. So this is just stupid.
No, you've totally got the wrong idea.
Dude, don't even try. If the face you made didn't give it away, then the way you just said that definitely did. How about you cut the crap and jump straight to the part where she should care about keeping your secret for you? Because right now she obviously doesn't have any reason to. And if you're gonna keep her quiet, start telling her why she shouldn't tell Curry rather than continuing to deny it, which only wastes your time. Again, this show just not understanding how arguments work. And don't worry, it's not gonna get any better throughout this scene.
Hey, wait a sec, guy!
Stop following me!
So, while this is the bread and butter of this genre, so obviously I can tolerate it on that front, the visual direction here is just weird in that Ruka takes 2 steps from him, then he takes 1 step and she immediately spins around. So, how could he not have had time to react by the time she'd finished spinning, and therefore he could have avoided doing this? It would have been better to maintain the point of this scene to stick to one character's perspective, rather than the halfway house they went with, which makes it seem like he had time to react and just decided to go in for the grab anyway, which is clearly not what the point of the episode is.
Faking being a boyfriend, stalking another girl, and now sexual harassment?
While being a phony boyfriend isn't necessarily a crime, stalking and sexual harassment definitely are serious crimes that you can't just walk off. But of course, all of this is forgotten by the end of the episode. So why bring up the crimes? To try and raise the stakes even though these are forgotten like a minute later when they change how the two interact. So this is just kind of the show pretending that it has consequences, but we all know it doesn't, which is just worse than not having them and not acknowledging them.
I said stop following me!
Where even are they? Again, they hard cut to a new location without adequately explaining what occurred. Like, this bridge was not visible at the end of the last episode, I double checked. So either they somehow got on the train to this bridge and Ruka only now told him to stop following her, she walked down to the next station on foot with Kazuya following, or the writers just forgot what the train station from the previous episode looked like. Again, this is just another case of stupid R.A.G hard cuts without any thought given to trying to establish the new location and how the characters got there.
Well, I don't want you behind me while I watch.
This line is just like some of the stupid shit Chizuru was saying in episode 2. Like, by definition, if he lives this way and he needs to get home, and you also need to get home this way, then he can't not be somewhere near you. What do you want him to do? Walk in front of you? Or next to you? Because in my head, that is just not any better. But what do I know, I guess?
That would be amazing! But how do I know for sure?
You don't. But unfortunately, you can't actually legally guarantee she doesn't talk, so you'll have to trust her. What are you doing, man? Why are you making this more inconvenient when you think you have a guarantee?
Well, I didn't mean it like that!
Then how did you mean it, my man? Like, I get you meant that because you're around him a lot, it could happen to come up, but the way you decided to phrase it does come off like, I don't think you have the capacity to keep a secret, which really shouldn't be what you're going for, but even if you did mess that up, you should probably add, you know, a qualifier, not just saying, oh, no, that's not what I meant, and then not elaborating, because that's just stupid.
Look, I'm sorry, okay? I didn't mean to cause you trouble, but I was told you two were a solid couple. But then, turns out she's a rental, so I had to mess with you.
This is one of the stupidest sentences ever uttered by a human being. I didn't mean to cause you trouble, I just wanted to mess with you? Firstly, if you wanted to mess with someone, you by definition intended to cause them a degree of trouble. And secondly, why did you have to? This doesn't answer the question of why she did this shit in the first place, because what part of this created an obligation to mess with him? Especially because both guys were in the same environment, and the show frames these actions as borderline against the employment contract. So she has something to lose, has nothing to gain, and he isn't even the only one doing this. Like, what the fuck is that sentence? How does a human being, who I presume has had tons of English classes, and more importantly, likely millions of human interactions, go to write dialogue and write that? Here's a better way of phrasing this. I never intended for Shun to find out, but I was told you two were a solid couple, but then I found out she's a rental, so I had to mess with you. Like, that still keeps the ending of the old line, so that's still not a great line, but at least it's not a blatant contradiction. Like, fuck me, how did this get from the writer's room, through animators, voice actors, editors, and so much more, and no one change it? Like, this line is so bad, I've literally made a fallacy out of it. The rental fallacy.
Well, I can't tell you that.
Please, I have to know.
Kazuya, my man, my homie, she literally just spoon-fed you the answer. Obviously, how would someone know about rental girlfriends but didn't want to tell you how they knew? 1, they are one. 2, they are heavily involved in the agency. And based on Ruka's age and appearance, which do you think is more likely? Like, come on, man. This is like if a striker was about to shoot at goal, the keeper evaporated, and the striker turned around to look for the keeper instead of taking the shot. Why can this character not think? It's not relatable.
No doubt you rented her for some stupid shallow reason.
Sorry, why wouldn't you just say a stupid shallow reason, like to show her off, or to make yourself look like a ladies' man, or one of the many reasons you're expecting? Fun fact, a lot of decisions in this world are shallow, so you need to just explain what you think his shallow reason could have been, so you can explain why it doesn't matter. Not just go shallow reason and expect him to work it out. That's not how an argument works. You can't just make statements and expect the other person to fill in all the blanks for you.
So now, I need you to record yourself, swearing that you won't tell anyone.
In what world is that effective leverage? This is not a legally binding contract. If she spills the beans and you play this video, she may look like a bit of a bitch, but certainly she won't get any consequences. Like, all you're doing is trusting her not to tell in a way way more roundabout and annoying. Like, do you have no social skills?
Why should I have to go to all that trouble for you?
I mean, it is a stupid plan, but it isn't actually that much trouble. It's just saying a sentence when he records it. Again, the dialogue in the sequence is so bad from both characters that the smart person in a moment is just the person who isn't talking.
Here I was sure that anyone who went for rental girlfriends was shallow.
Actually, I would call this a very shallow decision, you know, because it makes absolutely no sense and it only benefits him while causing you more inconvenience than would be necessary to accomplish the same result. But I presume you meant anyone who went for rental girlfriends didn't care this much about having the secret revealed, in which case you should have fucking said that. Come on, guys. Learn how to edit. Once again, we have that bad visual direction. If she fell off the top step, she would have just hit one of the lower ones long before Kazuya reached her. It would have hurt her back, but there would have probably been no lasting damage unless she cracked her skull. So either Kazuya's the Flash or the director sucks at conveying the distance between these two. Oh, and it gets worse, because as they go down the stairs, the director doesn't actually convey how they're taking less damage as they go down, because they're just presumably rolling on top of each other, which means you're still hitting the stairs, in fact with more impact, because now you have the weight of another person. So I'd love to know how this is him saving her and not just him causing her more damage.
Get off me, you jerk!
Come on. Like, I hate Kazuya too, but he did, according to the show anyway, just help you out from getting seriously hurt falling down a stairwell. So the least you can do is be polite. And the fact that she isn't helping that whole positive impression thing that they need to convey in this episode to make her a compelling character.
The best girlfriend I could hope for!
Holy shit, bro. Please shut up, for the love of God. You don't need to add this. It doesn't help your case, because the point of you saying it's not for me is because since you've been such a douchebag, it would be really unlikely she would want to do you a solid. But then the statement turns it back to being about you. So it utterly contradicts your point about it not being about you, and just holds the same problems of you just saying, hey, could you do me a solid?
I should tell you that I'm a rental girlfriend too.
Alright, now it's time to break down this whole stupid opening. See, I intentionally avoided it when breaking the rest of this down, but what if Kuri really was dating Ruka? Put yourself in Kazuya's shoes. You need to keep your friend's girlfriend from spilling the beans about your biggest secret. What shouldn't you do? I know. How about follow her around, pester the shit out of her, try and grab her and pull her back, and attempt to get her to record a video oath to protect your hide. Like, this plan only works if Ruka is a rental, because if she isn't after this, she would be so mad at Kazuya, she would go home and call Kuri first thing just to spite him. Like, this is easily the worst scene in the whole show so far, as well as being the objective worst opening to any episode of Rent a Girlfriend, period. And this episode isn't done being a complete shit show. Though, to be fair, this isn't the worst scene in the entire show. That's coming next episode.
So,
Quickly, what happened to his bruises? Oh yeah, the animators thought we would either not care about the bruises magically disappearing, or that we'd be too stupid to notice. Just another piece of laziness here.
but it's no guarantee, so we have to not piss her off.
I mean, it would be somewhat of a guarantee, and besides that, since you know his secret, ultimately it would change nothing, since if he confronted you on renting Chizuru, you could confront him on Ruka, and then Chizuru wouldn't even be in the crossfire.
Which agency is this girl with? I'm gonna complain.
I mean, this moment is interesting, because this frames it like she wouldn't be allowed to do it, but the fact that they never cite, you know, the employment contract, shows that the show doesn't really care about adequately explaining its moments or its dialogue. It just really expects you to accept anything it says without question, which is just such lazy writing.
With an agency that operates out of Tokyo.
Gotta give the show something for a minute. This is actually accounting for a potential plot hole, and that is if Curry was looking for a rental girlfriend agency, how did he not find Chizuru on the search? But the fact that Ruka's with a different agency covers for that. So well done, show. You tortured me for about 6 minutes, but you're ready to start writing. No, just kidding, they're really not.
But it makes perfect sense if she's a rental girlfriend too, because she's probably seen me in searches before.
Although this line creates the problem that if Chizuru is very commonly seen in searches for rental girlfriends, then it poses the question of how Curry somehow managed to end up on Ruka's and find her rather than Chizuru's agency, and very easily find out Kazuya was lying. But again, this show did write itself into a corner a bit. But the fact that they try so little to get out of it does really show laziness.
You having to listen to my problems even though we're not on the clock?
I mean, I would argue they're equally your and her problems, since, you know, it is her secret she's planning to keep, so you would think she wouldn't want a bunch of people at the college all knowing that you rented a girl called Chizuru, because that might invite many questions from her friends about her potential relation.
I am not! This was an emergency situation. I would never see you without an official booking otherwise.
Yes, I know she's supposed to be a generic tsundere, but, like, is this really the time for that? Like, this interaction really does just drain a lot of the tension they're building, and how she gets mad here at this honestly kind of innocent comment makes how mad she gets later at a different comment make even less sense, which builds into a problem we'll discuss next episode about her character. Haven't said this in a hot minute, but man, this is so contrived. Like, not only does Curry happen to be late, but Ruka shows up in the window when he happens to not be there, but is about to show up, just to allow the next sequence of events to unfold exactly how they need to. This is just cosmic levels of lazy.
Oh, really?
And it gets worse, because it's really contrived. Curry happens to show up exactly when the door is open, and not a little later when it was closed, and therefore he'd have to spend more time looking.
Give me a hug.
You're fucking kidding me. What the fuck is this plan? Like, I know she's acting on impulse because she thinks she found the one, but like, surely she would have thought about this for more than like 2 seconds when she's, you know, walking here. She admits at the end of the episode she knows the one Kazuya really likes is Chizuru, so in what world would he agree to this? Especially since they barely know each other. The writers of the show really do need to take a second before they write things in the script, especially with their dialogue.
Go. Can he teleport or something?
More terrible hiding! Like, hiding is a terrible plan, because considering how close the two of you are, he will for sure get the wrong idea, and that is the opposite of what you want, since you don't want him finding out that you're interacting with Ruka. Though, to be fair for a minute, this is still the best hiding spot in the show, since Curry couldn't see them by looking around, unlike the other ones where they get spotted. But if he decides to search the room even a little bit, he will find you, and things will get really stupid. So this moment is just a stupid as fuck way to have Ruka confirm that Kazi is the guy to make a girl above 90 without him willingly hugging her.
Yeah, I'm really sorry.
And this is a reoccurring thing in this episode, and some of the later ones, but it's Ruka doing something so stupid it completely boggles the mind. She apologizes, and then does something equally stupid. Like, we're not even at the worst of this, and my god, this really does make a shitty introduction to Ruka as a love interest.
You should go. Kazuya?
And the triad of contrivance ends. You see how when you have a scene that is made up entirely of contrivances, not only does it feel lazy, it shatters the immersion, because it just feels like the narrative is jerking you around and doesn't respect your intelligence whatsoever. Like, every event in this scene is just framed as Kazuya got unlucky and in the end Curry paid the price. And that is such an annoying basis for a scene that is supposed to be the pivot point for Ruka's character, and thus a pivot point for the series. Like, you'd think you'd respect the importance of your scene and make them a little bit less lazy than this.
What? How could you?
Okay, that is a pretty good line to use, because while Kazuya's talking to Ruka, with Curry's nerve shots from the fact that his friend just found out he'd been renting a girlfriend, he would definitely assume that that meant him rather than Ruka, which is why he left. Nice job at least there, guys. Well done.
It was like she'd made up her mind about something and her face got all serious.
So here's a question. Did you look over at her phone when she was checking it while you're under the desk? Or pay attention when she said 70? Like, she's obviously saying something about her heart rate. Like, I know, to be fair, that her really wanting you to do romantic gestures and her really caring about her heart rate could potentially not add up to her liking you. But, my god, man, you do have bits that you can tell Chizuru to piece this together instead of just saying the stupidest shit about how she got serious after you escaped a close as fuck call. Like, honestly, what is it with this show and characters just not wanting to solve problems?
Is that Chizuru's voice I heard just now?
How the fuck did you hear it from down the stairs? Like, do Kazuya and Chizuru just have no neighbors? Or is this the writers really not understanding sound? Because if Ruka can hear Chizuru clearly from all the way down there, that means anything Chizuru and Kazuya say is heard by everyone in this apartment, and any one of them could be at the college. So again, this really does make Chizuru's desire to keep a secret seem stupid, or make it sound like the writers don't understand sound.
No, Ruka, please don't say.
Yeah, see, he doesn't want anyone in this block hearing, meaning he assumes no one heard him before. So what the fuck was with Ruka hearing Chizuru from all the way down the stairs? Like, is it Kazuya who doesn't know that everyone in this complex can hear everything he's saying? Or is it the writers before not knowing what Ruka would logically be able to hear from the distance she was away? Who knows? Because the show doesn't explore anything!
But only if you agree to go out with me, Kazuya!
Ah, blackmail. And yes, I did try to look up to see if it was illegal in this case, and while in America and New Zealand, it definitely is, I couldn't find any specific Japanese legislation on this, so if anyone has a link to a Japanese law book, feel free to send it to me. But from my understanding from those two countries, since the act of Ruka revealing Chizuru to be a rental girlfriend would lead to the harm of both Kazuya and Chizuru, and Ruka is laying out terms that benefit her to avoid that outcome, that would be blackmail. So you might think, why the hell do the writers think it's a good idea to introduce a character to your harem by having them commit a crime after chastising Kazuya for committing crimes? Now, while you can write Ruka to do this and explore it well, they don't, as I'll demonstrate throughout the remainder of the show. The only reason I can think of as to why they did this is to try and make Kazuya and Ruka a less palatable relationship, because Kazuya and Chizuru is the endgame of this series. It just depends on how long they will take to get it done. So the problem is they need to not so subtly drag the other relationships down, which they fail at, by the way, because make no mistake, Kazuya and Chizuru getting together for real would likely lead to Chizuru being diagnosed with Stockholm Syndrome, since if you look at the symptoms on screen, she would have shown plenty of them at that point. So they make sure that if Kazuya got with Mami, it's fucked up because Mami's insane and manipulated the outcome, and if Ruka got with Kazuya, it's fucked up because she blackmailed him, though they don't even succeed in this, as we'll demonstrate in episode 11. So, I don't know what the point of this is. And the worst part is, despite this being such an unsympathetic decision, they still portray Ruka as a victim after this, which pisses me the fuck off.
What are you talking about? You can't mess with people's feelings like that. What possible reason could you have to fall for me?
Man, Alex is a genius. Like, I could put 1,000 voice actors in that booth and they wouldn't get a line read that perfect.
Between the story of the fairy rescue and our double date...
Also, another problem is that this moment proves that the scene at the stairs literally had no impact. She doesn't even bring it up as a reason for her falling for him. So another reason why that opening should have been either cut entirely or trimmed down massively to let this rest of this episode get some room to develop and not force the blackmail angle to be a thing if the rest of the show doesn't want it to have an impact.
Then it would be logical that if you had a real girlfriend, you'd likely treat her even better.
Yeah, that turns out to be hilariously false. And in fact, the girl he treats consistently the best throughout the show is another rental, but she hasn't showed up yet, so we'll get there when we get there.
What are you talking talking about? You make it sound like a serious relationship when I'm just a client.
Also, what does that have to do with anything she just said? She said that you're that kind and caring in a relationship. That isn't even legit, and therefore, if you had a legit relationship, you would likely be even better. Therefore, you saying this relationship isn't serious strengthens her points. It doesn't weaken them.
You calling a puppeteer?
Yeah, the puppeteer is the guy you've been talking to for the past couple minutes. To be fair, well, I wouldn't use that word, mostly because it gives too much credence to Kazuya in the intelligence department. It still is bizarre for them to have this argument and at no point drag him in as a point.
Like you said, we've kept up this rental relationship because we had no choice.
Okay, I've been foreshadowing this since the start, so it's time for the final curtain. Chizuru has said to Kazuya over and over they need to break up, saying it at the end of episode 1, 3 times in episode 2, a couple of times in episode 3, praising him for going through with it with his friends in episode 4, and reiterating to him in the same episode that they need to do it with the grandparents, a few times in episode 5, and a few times in the previous episode. And he has stated in every episode, often multiple times, that he needs to end this lifestyle, but he won't do it. Despite the fact that not only was it proven definitively in episode 2 that there will be no negative consequences of this breakup, but in episode 4 it's proven that Kazuya would be fully capable of getting it over with. And while I see why he wouldn't want to go through it here because it's insane, this is also made weird because of all the lines of the first 5 episodes that have clearly shown that Kazuya and Ruka should be together. Due to the rant Kibe goes on, the line Kazuya says right before he stages the fake breakup with his friends, the line Chizuru says in episode 6, and the line he says right before he gets in the car. And besides that, this especially builds on Chizuru's one goal, how she wants to end this, and now she has a perfect opportunity to step away, which she stated in the previous episode. They break up, Kazuya still gets a girlfriend, Chizuru gets to tie up this loose end. Win-win according to their own logic, no? Again, this is the problem with this episode, where everyone just has to have the idiot ball the whole time to make this pathetic story happen. Because obviously Ruka and Kazuya can't just get together, because the show wants Chizuru and Kazuya to get together. So therefore they need to try and justify it, despite the fact that they've spent the past 6 episodes accomplishing the exact opposite, leading to this pathetic attempt at justification falling flat, and revealing the hands of the writers trying to puppeteer you.
Does any cute girl that walks by do it for you? Is that how you are?
Why in the fuck do you care? Don't you want this guy out of your hair? Isn't this great news? He's attracted to Ruka, she wants to date him, you want him gone. Awesome! Like, this is such a bizarre rant to go on to him. This makes it seem like Chizuru actually likes Kazuya, but it is clearly implied throughout the rest of this episode that she doesn't, especially when we factor in that bizarre rant she did in the restaurant. So this is just some pretty inconsistent characterization.
He embraced me without asking, then laid on top.
Also, finally, we've got a half-logical line for Ruka, so that I can quickly point out that Sarah Williams does a fantastic job in this role.
The boob thing happened at 2 different times.
Why did you change your approach from something believable to something ridiculously stupid? Like, the second one was on purpose, but you should probably stick to the accident angle instead of switching to this happened at 2 different times approach, as if this makes it any better.
I'm getting slandered.
You're only slandering yourself, buddy. Please learn how to argue, for the love of God.
Unbelievable. Huh? You're cool with going into his apartment?
Okay, there we go. That's some creative writing, since that would make sense as an agency policy, and it's pretty good for letting Ruka work out that there's something more going on. Nice job. Shame this was preceded by a lot of stupid shit.
I'm blaming him. I'm not letting anyone else by his side. Sure. Feel free.
Holy fuck, the irony of the script of this series hitting a new low in this episode, and the voice acting hitting an all-time high is funny as fuck to me.
No.
I mean, why doesn't he just say yes? She said, let's get this out of the way first. That implies that she wants to confirm that before they move on in the discussion. So you can say yes, and then the discussion can still continue. It's not like that statement implies that this is the first and only thing she'll ask.
If you let Ruka have her way now, she'll just keep on blackmailing you.
I mean, I agree with the sentiment, but the fact of the matter is, she shouldn't be allowed to blackmail him, period. So, this is a case of the show kinda understanding consequences, but also kinda not. And I suspect that the part they don't understand is just being too fucking lazy to check your own work, or being too fucking lazy to come up with better setups and payoffs.
As the grown-up here, you need to be the strong one.
Also, here's something to note. In episode 2, she plays on the grown-up angle. Then in episode 4, she changes to talking about his manliness. And now she's right back to grown-up. And again, if they wanted to discuss the masculinity angle, why didn't they just have it be focused on equally with being a grown-up, or focus on it with a different girl? Because the way they do it here is just complete thematic laziness.
Besides, the fact that she's blackmailing you to get you to go out with her makes me wonder if she really does like you.
Why though? Like, this line works if you change the phrasing from the fact that she's blackmailing you makes me wonder if she really does like you to the fact she's blackmailing you makes me wonder if that could ever be the basis for a healthy relationship. You know, because the fact she's doing something as horrible as blackmail just to ensure he'll go out with her does indicate she's for real, but it does show that their relationship would be very, very toxic if they tried to build off that base. But apparently, despite the show having her go on a rant to him about him going with other girls, she doesn't care about him as a person because logic and reason and characterization.
Think about it. I'm sure he'd be willing to keep it on the down low as a shared secret.
Okay, this does make perfect sense, since obviously if it's a shared secret, Ruka has no more leverage, therefore the blackmail doesn't work, and so he can actually make a decision as to whether or not to date her. But firstly, the amount Chizuru protests is completely bizarre considering the logic, and two, the fact that he gives up on this idea after this episode is just utterly bizarre to me.
Me dating Ruka would only keep this nightmare going.
No, it wouldn't. Like, I'm sure it has a lot of baggage and your life wouldn't get any better, but definitely it would change the situation you're in right now and get rid of some of your present conundrums. It would just replace them with equally bad conundrums. So again, just rephrase it like that. It's so easy, guys. Stop being lazy.
At least you didn't land on your head.
Yeah, actually, how didn't his head get hurt? Because as someone who has fallen out of a tree on literally the same angle and the same height, the issue is that the impact of your back slamming into the ground does swing your head and make it hit the ground too. But of course, I only got a mild concussion from that fall, so Kazuya could still probably walk after this. I'm just pointing out that the show doesn't understand how falling works.
I just don't understand, Chizuru.
Then why don't you make her understand? Why does the show love using the line, "You don't understand," but doesn't seem to get that it doesn't work when the only reason the person doesn't understand is because you are withholding one piece of information they need and you are fully within your rights to give it to them? Like, my god, why doesn't the show have a goddamn editor? And that is just douchey. Why the hell would you throw yourself into the body part that he just injured falling off a tree the same height as his apartment? Like, that is not going to endear yourself to him, I can promise you that much.
Please just give it and go out with me!
That is the line of a psychopath, not a character you're supposed to root for. What the fuck, man? Why would you use the line "give in"? And especially when the guy's back is probably pretty damaged here. This is just making her come off like a supervillain. But that's not what the show wants you to think about her. So why would you put this line in? And it's pretty insane how, even when he gives in, she still refuses to talk to Curry. So, while they won't do this for a while, if Ruka ever meets Sumi, she can delight in knowing that it is partially her fault.
Don't do this out here!
Again, please don't lampshade your stupid writing if you're gonna keep doing it. It just pisses everyone off. To be honest, I know Ruka is the kid, and when you know her backstory, this makes more sense, though it is still pure evil. But I would honestly have more sympathy if Kazuya started crying here, believe it or not, because he just watched his friend have a secret revealed, is getting blackmailed into a relationship, fell a story onto the ground, and got tackled and pulled to the ground. Whereas without knowing anything about Ruka, which, by the way, we don't know because the show didn't tell us, the only thing that happened to her is she was rejected. Boo-hoo. Maybe don't be a criminal next time.
I knew this was dumb.
Why didn't you try a different approach? This approach is not only dumb, but illegal. Like, what were you thinking? Why does the show always admit to the audience that it's aware of its writing flaws, and then just continue with them anyway? If you know your writing is bad, fix it! Don't just carry on doing something you know is bad.
Just go out with her.
No. Come on. You literally said the issue with him going out with her after she tries to pressure him is that she'll just do the same thing again. If he goes out with her after this, then it will just set the precedent that all she has to do to get what she wants is just cry in public, which is not what you want for a healthy relationship. Why is this character so inconsistently done in this episode? Why is she even here if you guys don't know what to fucking do with her?
And that is how I got a girlfriend.
The show's over, right? You did it, man. Sure, you don't really deserve it, and she did it in the most fucked up way possible that could likely lead to a toxic relationship, but I don't care. It's finally over. No, I'm kidding. We're just shy of 20% of the way through this thing. Well, this is one of the most horrible episodes of TV I've ever watched. It's definitely coming close to a lot of very hated shows like She-Hulk or Velma. It has inconsistent characterization, contrivances, casual criminal activity, dialogue so shit it made me want to chop my ears off, and much, much more. To be honest, the credit scene where you get Ruka's backstory and the episode promo are a far better introduction to Kazuya's harem for her than this entire episode, which is just sad. And you know the worst part? This isn't even the worst episode of this series. No, that crown goes to next week's episode. Episode 8. See you then.